In this video that you have just watched, we have seen how many of the factors that have been discussed throughout this course have created a fertile environment for the human traffickers at the focus of this video to operate almost unmolested in their ability to both make profits and have their organization survive. But what this video also shows is a novel approach to combating that of global civil society organizations. And one of the reasons that allow them to be so successful is that these non-state actors are as fluid and mobile as those criminal organizations that they are trying to combat, though they are limited in the fact that they do not have the monopoly on the legitimate use of power that states have, dating back all the way to the Treaty of Westphalia that we talked about in the first week of the class. While states have a legitimacy on the use of power, globalization has allowed non-state actors who threaten global security to expand their areas of operation and influence and carry out activities with a speed and an effectiveness not seen before in history. As a result, law enforcement, intelligence, and security agencies tasked with combating global threats and these activities related to it must find new ways to share information and intelligence and coordinate activities with their foreign counterparts to successfully combat these threats. Organizations and individuals who buy into this collective approach to global security operate as transgovernmental networks comprised of government officials from various nations, forming both formal and informal global networks that reach out to their foreign counterparts to help them address problems that arise when national actors or issues spill beyond their borders. In essence, the key to understanding the strategy is developing a network of officers to combat a network of criminals or terrorists or other people engaged in activities that threaten global security. A key to this is a move away from the slow, formal process of diplomatic negotiations to deal with these advances in technology and travel that have created an environment where networks are able to flourish, to a network of government officials who share common professional cultures and specializations that allow them to understand the issues at hand that are threatening global security. This characteristic of a shared common professional culture and shared specialization in a particular issue forms a bond that is reinforced by their identification based on those criteria. Individuals even begin to define themselves as part of a professional group rather than purely nationalistic terms, meaning that they identify themselves as, say, a law enforcement officer primarily before they identify themselves with being an American or a German or a Russian, meaning that they can easily build a relationship with somebody who has that shared identity of being a law enforcement officers. The reason for this is members have faced many of the same problems and shared many of the same frustrations that are inherent in their profession. By sharing these experiences with one another, they develop a level of trust in membership which goes beyond simple political allies. Members of these networks communicate and interact among themselves in order to share information, collect and disseminate best practices, provide technical assistance and training to those who have less experience in a specific area than those other members of their network. These networks and the informal way they often do business can be spontaneous, flexible, and their membership can vary. Transnational governmental networks increasingly exchange information and coordinate activities across borders and between governments in an effort to combat the variety of threats to global security. These transgovernmental networks can exist at the highest level of governments to some of the lowest level of governments, or what you would refer to as foot soldiers or boots on the ground. One example of a high-level trans-government network would be the EU-US Political Dialogue on Border and Transportation Security. The EU-US Political Dialogue was established in 2004 and was comprised of high-level officials working together to address international concerns related to border security and the management of illicit global migration. The Political Dialogue on Border and Transportation Security helped overcome challenges with the governance relationships of transnational homeland security found in a traditional hierarchical structure of governance often seen in such things as international and regional organizations. This dialogue focused specifically on issues related to border and transportation security, as that's where its members had specific areas of expertise. These issues included introduction of biometrics into travel documents, international databases, the use of sky marshals, and aviation and rail security. The Political Dialogue on Border and Transportation Security tried to accomplish the network's goals of coordination and cooperation in these areas in three phases. First, by framing what the problem was. Second, by coming to some sort of agreement on what was the best way to combat these issues or address these issues. And finally, what would be the best way for all parties to go about implementing strategies that would help combat or address these issues with which they were faced. Once an agreement was reached by the high-level participants of the Political Dialogue on Border and Transportation Security, low-level officials of the network maintained the agreement and carried out the day-to-day interaction between the various agencies whose members made up the Political Dialogue on Border and Transportation Security. But how are these agreements maintained once the dialogue or the agreements have been put into place? Who is responsible for maintaining these relationships? Increasingly, in an attempt to maintain these relationships, law enforcement and intelligence agencies are often assigning their officers to foreign countries. These transgovernmental networks allow low-level officials from law enforcement and intelligence agencies assigned overseas to interact directly with their foreign counterparts, allowing for the network members to interact with little supervision or interference from their national foreign ministries or home agencies. The freedom and independence to act is more extreme when an official is assigned in a foreign jurisdiction in a boots-on-the-ground scenario, resulting in a loosely structured peer-to-peer ties developed through frequent interaction rather than formal negotiations. Their informal structure allows these networks to respond rapidly and often in innovative ways when new problems do present themselves. Beyond increased trust because of continued freedom to act and continued informal interaction, when dealing with law enforcement or intelligence officers or issues that they have to deal with, there exists a powerful transnational police subculture bounded by the basic notion that a cop is a cop no matter what badge he carries, and a criminal is a criminal no matter what his language or his nationality. This is a technique that has been used to combat a wide variety of issues that we have seen or dealt with throughout the course, including terrorism, transnational crime, and cyber threats. When the problem faced is a need to prevent individuals who threaten to the security of a certain country from crossing international borders, the members of this network is comprised of officers from national agencies that are tasked with border security and preventing the trafficking or the movement of illegal goods, services, and people across national borders. Before the September 11th attacks, Canada, Australia, the United Kingdom, and the Netherlands have been deploying officers as airline liaison officers or immigration officers to work with their foreign counterparts as a border management style. Canada has pioneered the practice of stationing immigration control officers abroad. There were approximately 50 such officers in foreign airports and still even more stationed at consulates overseas. The UK approach was carried out by the UK border agencies that attempted to implement an offshore control and pre-arrival screening in what it called its agency's Risk and Liaison Overseas Network. Through this strategy, the UK and Canada have developed a global border security intelligence network made up of its own officers, private stakeholders, local law enforcement authorities, and other countries' officers. The U.S. has also quickly adopted this strategy, although it is playing catch-up with other nations around the world. The issue with the United States is that it has a variety of agencies within the U.S. Department of Homeland Security that deal with immigration and border management areas. These agencies include Citizenship and Immigration Service, Customs and Border Protection, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration has Refugee and Asylum and International Operations Directorate, which oversees 29 international field offices around the world. Customs and Border Protection has the CBP Attaché Program, which oversees Container Security Initiative that deals specifically with cargo coming into and out of the United States, as well as the Immigration Advisory Program that specifically assigns officers overseas to specific airports in order to deal with immigration issues, as well as fraudulent documents, alien smuggling, and human trafficking. Finally, the Office of International Affairs, which falls within the Homeland Security Investigations area of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, assigns officers overseas to oversee the visa security program, as well as assign ICE attaches to foreign jurisdictions in order to coordinate investigations and share information. When you have a variety of agencies that adopt this strategy and assign their officers overseas, this lays the foundation for a strong network to deal with global threats to security. One such example of this is in New York City, where they have founded the U.S. Border Crimes Groups. This group is made up of a variety of local, or I should say national, enforcement agencies directly related to border enforcement in the United States, as well as various international partners related to border crimes who have officers assigned to New York City. These include the German National Police, the French National Police, the City of Tokyo, Japan Police Office, Customs and Border Protection, Homeland Security Investigations, ICE Enforcement and Removal, Citizenship and Immigration Service, the Department of State's Diplomatic Security Service, the FBI, Canada's Border Security Agency, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and UK Border Agency. All of these individuals have formed an informal trans-government network within the city of New York. And what they do is they informally share information regarding trends and other issues that they see both within their own citizens in their own countries and what they are seeing within the local New York area that will help all members effectively address problems related to border security. While this specific group stands as an example to address the variety of problems related to facilitating the legitimate flow of trade, travel, and services across border, while simultaneously providing for border security against illegitimate activities, it can serve as a model for other similar groups to deal with a variety of global threats that we have addressed in class. At this time, I would like to say congratulations. You have officially completed all the class content for Global Threats to Security. At this point, I'd like to say I hope you enjoyed your semester, and best of luck to you on the final exam.